This show is brought to you by DF Studios Limited. Whether you're a business owner or entrepreneur, DF Studios will guide and assist you on the best ways to promote your brand digitally, in addition to creating visitor and customer generating content like blogs, social media posts, videos, and even podcasts like this one you're listening to right now. Visit dfstudiosltd.com or hit up info@dfstudiosltd.com for more info. Let's talk about a show that dropped on Christmas Day, if I'm not mistaken, on Netflix called The Witcher: Blood Origin, right?
Right.
Now, I will leave this up to you, Ricardo, not only because you saw it, but you're familiar with that franchise, right? With the books and the games, right? I've never played the game, I
Kind of.
never read the books, and I did not even see, the first two seasons of The Witcher, starring, formerly known as Superman, Henry Cavill, right? But the real reason why I wanted to see it initially was because I'm a girl, Michelle Yeoh, right, who made it,
Right.
was of course the star of easily one year's best films, or easily one of 2022's best films, Everything Everywhere All at Once, right? So, Giselle, all right, she's in it, right? But again, I just have no clue. I have no idea what the world of The Witcher is, or if it's like a worthy addition to the series or franchise. I don't know. But yeah, Ricardo, take it away. The Witcher: Blood Origin. What was it about? How was it?
So it kind of sucked. Unfortunately. Yeah. So this occurs a little over a millennia before the events of the original TV series, Blood Origin. Yeah, it's a big old prequel, and it leads to events in the world of, again, if you're familiar with its world, something called the, what is why the conjuring of the spheres, or the conjunction of the spheres. I forget the actual term, but basically it's just ancient the ancient civilization before its fall. Like it have a whole ancient elven civilization in that whole period before it had a big fall. So the main character, Sophia Brown, she plays Isle, if I remember correct. And then there's a bunch of other side characters, and basically we have to there's events of that. So it's kind of the what they do with Lord of the Rings. Similar problems, similar conceits, and slow and boring as hell. This did not work at all. This was pretty bad, unfortunately. Yeah, to explain the general narrative is that it's just her as the main lead, kind of going through the events. And again, if you're familiar with the books, it is kind of addressed some of that. But like again, I only care about the video games, to be honest. But yeah, it's just her as the effectively a member of Raven Clan who has to uh, lead her own conceit about a Elden Mage, a guy called oh no sorry Meldoff. She's like a dwarf who have her own story. Um, Michelle Yao is Cyan. She's a Nobag tribe. All of them is again. I don't want to bog you down with law stuff in the world, but yeah, it's just a group of people who come together and they have their own hang-ups and conceits, and almost none of it works. Right? Michelle Yao's backstory is kind of interesting. Francesca Mills, her story is kind of interesting. Maybe Merwin is okay. There's I forget the actor name, something Mac, I think. But yeah, just to get into the conceit on why I don't think it works is because it's paced poorly. And again, you liked the Lord of the Rings, the new one, right? The new prequel show, right? Right. But it kind of have the same problem in terms of pacing. And that's kind of the main problem with this one. I just couldn't get into it. If you're into Witcher, I'm not sure if you're gonna like this. And then, well,
Right.
still everybody kind of sour from Henry Cavill leaving Witcher as well. So like, I just have no energy for this. But yeah, I don't know. It just was surprisingly slow and weak. Not particularly interesting. How to describe why it feels way? It has the prequel problem, and they don't even try to make an effort of addressing the prequel problem of, okay, I know this is going to happen, so therefore, you should have to care about this in this way. And they're trying to make you care about something that already happened, but you have to make sure and build drama within the framework. Like, okay, Andor it's like Andor versus okay, a quick example. It's like Andor versus Solo. One of
Yeah.
the Here's the thing. One of the reasons I didn't like Han Solo, I didn't like Solo because I know what's going to happen to Han Solo. But here's the thing. Andor has the same thing. I know what's going to happen to Andor, and yet I care about Andor. Why? Because they put stakes and conceits within Andor to make you care at that point. you see the point. Even if you know that Mon Mothma is gonna live through this and thing. Same problem I have with this. We know that the Elven civilization is gonna fall, blah blah blah. But why you're not making me care? Because I already know that. You have to put in new information for me to care. And they don't make any of that information. They don't make you care. They don't make you flow. The only thing that is, I suppose, it's sell of this Israel. Well, it's have a black female lead. All right. But,
Okay.
Okay. But,
Yeah.
she,
So
yeah,
essentially it's just lazy storytelling then.
pretty much it, because they don't make the extra effort to main problem is that they don't make the extra effort to say why it is I should care about the world as it is, because I already know what's going to happen. Because you're doing a prequel. Even if you're doing a far-flung prequel, it's still a problem. Again, Game of Thrones, right? Game of Thrones did a far-flung prequel. Still pretty good. It works and flows because you actually care. They have to put in. You always have to put in stakes for that point in time, and that's why this don't do that at all. And yeah, it's just a slug. And surprisingly, it's 4 episodes, and it's still a slug somehow.
Wait,
Like
4 episodes? You serious? I
Yeah, it
swear it
real
was
short,
like
like-
all 8 or 10 or something.
No,
Okay.
yeah, it real short. Like, it's shockingly short. And like, yeah, but is it though? It get long. It's still some time, but like, still do. It's kind of unacceptable that it's just only 4 episodes as it is. That, as far as I know, I don't think it airs or does anything extra. It just air 4 episodes on Christmas. I watched it on Boxing Day, and yeah, this was just a colossal waste of my time. Yeah, so waste my time. Moving on. Nothing else to talk about. I was just kind of mad. I put it on my worst of list because it just wastes my time. And I was thinking, wait, boy, Michelle Yao and this is gonna be good. Nope. I don't know how Michelle Yao make it on my worst of and best of list in the same year. Whatever.
Yeah.
Moving on. Yeah, moving on. Like it just falls into the usual trappings of a typical prequel trappings, and they make zero effort to address any of this. Like I just could not get into any of this, and because I think a big problem too is that because I have to remember Witcher lore. I'm doing all kind of mental legwork to remember stuff that I just don't give a shit about. Like, yeah, you had to give me to give a shit. Like, I barely just tolerate the Witcher show as it is, but it's like, all right, well, Henry Cavill pretty good, and they make a good job of the action, and they're making it flow, and they actually care. So, it's solid. But this, no, none of it, none of the energy, and it's for a franchise you're not really willing to put in the effort for. Because, like, I kind of like The Witcher, but I don't love The Witcher. It's like, moving on. Like, that is it. Anyway, yeah. Rating. I get like a 4 out of 10. It's actually colossal waste of time. Yeah, 1 point for every episode, right? Yeah, moving on.
I like that 1 point, 1 star or 1 point or whatever for each episode. Yes, wow, wait, that is a colossal feeling right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I guess I could take my sweet ass time to jump into the Netflix world of The Witcher, right? But speaking of jumping into worlds or jumping back into worlds, man, and stick with blood for a little bit. Sorry for the morbid, use the word blood, whatever, right? Let's talk about Bleach, 1,000-Year Blood War, right? So,
Sure.
Ricardo, if you don't mind, I just wanted to do the synopsis for this, but I want to start off with my review afterwards. Please, pretty please, if you don't mind, right?
Yeah.
So, so Ricardo, you talked about the premiere of it. Well, more or less, kind of just share the quick thoughts on it when it dropped, right? You absolutely loved it. I was waited for the show to wrap up. I didn't think that it actually wrapped up, before New Year's, right? So around the time when I was preparing, my best of list, you actually had it on your list already. So I was like, oh wow, it actually wrapped up, right? Yeah, so Ricardo, if you don't mind, you being a huge fan of Bleach, just want to just run through what the synopsis of this, let's call it season, right? This first season is about, and then I will share my thoughts and then you follow
They're
it.
calling it a core for some reason all the time. Like, I know that's a term they kind of use in Japan, and as far as I know, that's what's going on. But yeah, they call it a core, which is really just like the equivalent of like a half season. That's what it is. So what we saw up to is like the equivalent of that's how I interpret it. It's like the equivalent of something like a mid-season finale almost.
Right. Well, yeah. It's so in a nutshell, what was this season about?
Sure. Right. So yeah. So we basically following up Bleach. This is like the 5th or 6th arc at this point. Or it depends on how much you want to call the arcs. Why? I just kind of call it more or less the fourth arc because I consider the Aizen arc as one big arc, but it's like 3 arcs in one. Yeah. 4th or 5th arc, you should say. Basically, it's the Quincy's. Quincy's come back as badasses, and we learn about Ichigo true origins, like where he comes from, why he's the way he is. Basically, the backstory of the Quincy's and the kind of effectively the sins of Soul Society, and the Quincy's as the analogy is very, to me, blatant in terms of like referencing German aesthetics and Nazism and whatever it is. And it could have a whole bunch of like a bunch of like subtext about that. But basically, it's just the return of the head of the Quincy. He's the father of all Quincy, actually, a guy called Yuha Baha. He's the main antagonist of this season. Well, this arc. And yeah, it's just the Quincy's coming back for revenge against our old war roughly 1,000 years ago. There's a big poem called the King. I forget what it's called, the Emperor's poem. I forget the actual German term, Kaiser Kazang or something like that. He basically is a poem predicting his return, 999 years, 999 years, 9 days, and basically he have to return to destroy Soul Society. And yeah, Soul said so done. He came in and kicked a monumental amount of ass. And yeah, Ichigo had to come in.
Emphasis on monumental, folks.
Yeah, monumental. Yeah, but we get to see a lot of great fights in this and bankais and ass kicking. And I'll say, well, you'll talk about your return, but I'll just tell you why I like this arc, but stuff I don't like. But why it's not my personal favorite arc, but it's one of the better arcs overall. But what the anime is doing to improve upon it. So yeah, go ahead,
Okay.
Matthew. What did you think?
All right. Well. That's really interesting. You're seeing that the anime actually tweaked what was already existent on the pages of the manga, right?
Right.
That's really interesting. I didn't know that, right?
Yeah.
So just to kick things off, as you could tell, I have not read the manga, right? That's actually on my to-do list, right? I have followed the anime since it came out in the mid 2000s.
Right.
This was like a like, because for me, right, just getting back into anime after a while, right, just introducing myself into new titles and whatnot, right?
Datibayo subs, if you know, right?
Yeah, exactly. Naruto was big back in like the early 2000s.
Yeah.
But after a while, I don't know, I was just like, Shippuden not really going anywhere for me. So I just hopped on Bleach, and I was just a fan from the word go. I was just loving everything about it, especially them theme songs. So, and the one for this one here is a bop. This one here is a bop.
This is not my personal favorite opening, but it's a pretty good opening. I put it very high. It's in the top 5.
Yeah. Right.
I put it very high. And that whole pink thing, there's a whole meaning to that. Like, I think the pink, if you Google what that color is, it's called wild strawberry, which makes sense because that's Ichigo's name. I'm like, yeah, okay. There's a lot of great meaning in it as well. Yeah.
All right, I didn't know. And speaking of pink now, when they show certain flashbacks of previous episodes, I would say from the anime run for back in the 2000s, yeah, they are in pink, right? If you see it, you'll understand what I mean, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I was concerned going into this, right? So because of how long that Eisen arc went for, and it just kind of went nowhere for me. I just sort of dropped off from it, and then there was this huge gap, so there was nothing going on as far as anime.
It had a bunch of filler in the anime. Yeah.
Right. I was just genuinely tired of the filler, right? So I just moved on with my life, right? Yeah, I was worried that I was not going to remember characters or remember stakes and arcs and whatnot, right? But surprisingly, right, I would say like in the first couple episodes, it was just me more or less kind of retuning my brain, like, all right, this character, that character, okay, right, this power, that power, that power, right? And then like as soon as the threat kicks in, boy, and when it was just like reveal after reveal, I was locked in, I was on board, and I have to say I loved the season here. Or I should say part 1, right? I keep calling it season. We'll call it part 1 for now, right?
Right.
This is how you continue a story, boy, while staying true to the reasons why people love it so much, right? Well, from the animation to the voice acting to the action, you know what I mean? It's maintained, right? What I will say in terms of the action, boy, and I have a feeling like this is more true to the manga than how it used to be before. This is pretty violent though compared to like what we've seen before. But yeah, like it's not gratuitous, right? But yeah, characters get sliced in half. You're seeing blood. You're seeing, well, not guts, but you're just seeing like heads being severed and stuff like that. But it's within the context of anime, so it's not some sort of gruesome, bordering on hentai level kind of violence, right? If you catch my drift, right? But yeah, boy, it just stepped things up in terms of that, but also to the action though. I thought that the action was very well handled, very well animated, I must say though. But the real sell for this though is just seeing your favorite characters come back, especially when it came to like the Shinigami themselves, boy. And oh my god, boy. Like back in the days where it's like, oh, this character is so powerful. And this is the one thing we always loved about Bleach, right? Is that everybody will just step in there and be like, "Yes, I'm more powerful than you," and just laugh like, "Ha ha ha! Look at you with your shitty little weapon and whatnot." And then they say "Bankai," and then they just unleash some kind of like grandiose, like badass weapon. Like, oh shit,
Yeah,
right? But this one in this part, boy, this part one, they just step that, they just raise that bar up to like to insane level here, boy. Characters that you kind of forget were powerful would just kind of show up and just reveal their bankai, and not just in a gimmicky way. It's just because this Quincy army show up and
right,
there's war and whatnot. So like for me, it was just like one surprise after another, boy.
right.
Yamamoto is a
Yeah,
OG. I mean, he was always a OG, boy, but he's one of the MVPs in this show, boy.
you know.
There's a couple episodes with him, boy, and
Yeah,
him
that
just
was the
dropping
highlight of it. Yeah, that
bankai
was the highlight
after
of it. Yeah,
bankai, and it is so fucking amazing, and I'm like,
yeah,
wow, Dread, you know?
yeah.
And
They
yes, it
nail.
is over the top and grandiose, but I loved everything
Yeah,
about it.
in the manga they did a great job with it. And this they did a fantastic job illustrating this bankai and what they did with.
Yes, way.
Yeah. So
And
shout out to before we continue. Yeah, shout out
uh,
to two guys I follow online. Well, I follow one, mostly one, but the other is pretty good too. So a guy called Tekken 101 and Mr. Tomo. If you want like in-depth like analysis of Bleach, I recommend him. So
okay.
what Mr. Tomo did for the entire season is like when the episode done, like he had a live reaction kind of quick thing, and
Oh
then
no, nice.
he did a big like in-depth rundown of chapter by chapter where to compare the show and what was changed in terms of like dialogue and like specific things. Like he's the kind of guy that'll pay attention to that shit, right? I have no
Okay.
patience with that bullshit. But yeah, he just kind of cover the general conceits and what the anime changed, what kind of creative decisions he decided to change, what they did to fill up to make it make a little sense. Because
Hmm.
the one weakness of this arc, at least from the manga standpoint, is yeah, it have very little connective tissue and the time to explain everything. A lot of fans for years were confused by a bunch of stuff like what exactly going on here and what happening in this scene, and the way the anime frames it and makes it a lot clearer like
Right.
what going on, and you could tell Kubo sat down with the anime people and just made sure to make it work. Yeah, that's why the anime works. And on top of that, just the quality of it is just excellent. It's look like movie quality, just simply
I will agree.
gorgeous.
Yes.
Another big thing, they bring back all the music, but
Yes.
they make remixes. So
Yeah.
like a
Well,
bunch of
reworked versions of them. Yeah, you're right.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a bunch of classic songs. Number one comes back. One of my favorite songs is Battle Ignition. Battle Ignition is they did a remake of Battle Ignition. That's probably my personal favorite. But yeah, basically all these songs from the first OST comes back with remixes. And like yeah, they do a good job with that. Voice
Yeah.
acting. The guy who played Yamamoto, the original voice actor, and I only talking about the Japanese stuff, right? I haven't watched the dub. Only the sub I'm talking about.
Oh, okay. Well, honestly, I didn't know that there was an English dub. I'm kind of not surprised, but
It actually
I
came out.
always preferred the Japanese over the
Yeah,
English.
it actually came out very surprisingly as quick as it did. You know, they really like they put it out like I think it's like a week later. It's like oh okay, the dubs come out real fast. Shit. But yeah, the I don't think the voice actor for Yamamoto died. I think he died a few years ago. So
Oh,
they got
shit.
a new
Okay.
guy, but the new
All right.
guy good.
Yes,
I
he
don't know
is.
his name.
To the point that I swear he was the same guy
Same
from
guy, yeah, he
before.
sounds great. He sounds like I couldn't tell the difference only until somebody tell me he died. I'm like, oh, you're right, Yamamoto died, right? Oh, so he's another dude. Because I thought they voiced him years ago and then just used that. But it's like, no, apparently there's a new guy they got. I'm like, oh shit, that's real good. But yeah, they nail it. Like across
Right.
the board, I thought they just did a great job of like the only slight issue, and it's not a big problem because I actually prefer it's done this way, is the pacing itself. It's a little quick. So they cut a lot of comedy, from what I understand. Because they have a lot of comedy beats in the manga. They cut a lot of them. Like not all, but they cut a lot of them. And I to be honest, I actually glad that they did that because the whole story and the situation is supposed to be like really serious now. So like the comedy I understand undermine it. And then they take away a couple stuff in the manga, like everybody vexed that about Rukia's speech, if you know what that is. Stuff like that, right? They just take away stuff like that. Or like when Masaki, well, you know, the big reveal with Ichigo's mom,
Hmm.
Saki was outright naked. They decided to just cut that. Okay, that's changes that make sense. That's fine.
Okay. Okay.
Uh,
Yeah.
that's about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, they make a bunch of great changes and make it work. And it's the main thing is the fighting. Like they just do a great job with the action. Like that
Yes.
sequence with when the Quincy army itself come out and slaughter the Shinigami. That is so well done. That is
I
so good.
know, boy. Yeah.
Uh,
That was great.
Right.
But there's just a few things for you, right? Because I know you have to have a lot to say, right? But yeah, I have to echo what you just say. I took note of the musical cues as well, drawing from what we heard before. I loved like the remixed versions of them. I thought that they were well done. They just made it more grander, more epic, I would say, right? In terms of sound, right?
Right.
Um, and it totally works, right? In terms of the pacing, yes, I agree with you. Like it starts off strong, right, and really serious, right? But I was a little worried, like in the last four episodes, where the tension sort of dies down, right? For I would say for story reasons. That's all I'll say, right? So like there's a huge battle, and then it just suddenly kind of stops. It's like, okay, well, we'll get back to you later, right? But yeah, we had to go now, right? So it's like that, right? I was like, all right, well, we have four more episodes to go. Where this thing gonna go?
Right.
And they actually reveal some stuff about Ichigo's mom. I was like,
Right.
oh, okay, well, that's interesting. But I was really digging it, to be honest, right? But I love how they connected back to what was really going on. The big reveals with who the Quincy leader is and
Right.
how he's connected to
Okay.
our
So
heroes. What that I was
I
like,
don't know
all right,
if I
I
I
like that.
alluded this. I because I see a lot of fans are all fighting this down, but like I was not surprised by this at all. Like real people acting
Okay,
as if
okay,
a lot of
okay.
people acting as if this was some big reveal. And like, yeah, it's a good reveal, but like it's not like some mind blowing reveal. It's not like
Well,
I
no, 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 no. To be honest, but it,
yeah,
it, it, it works in the story. It's not like,
right.
oh shit, they'll be like, I'll
Exactly.
go and tweet it. No, no, no. Right.
Yeah. I because the thing is that from since early on in Bleach, like since like I don't know, since the time of Zaraki's fight, we always know that the old man Zangetsu was kind of sus, right? Like it was how you so strong and how you doing all of this, and is that a hollow, and is the hollow your friend? Like what going on here? And
Yes.
then and then when we saw the main antagonist Yuhabaha, it's like, oh, he looking just like old man Zangetsu though. Like it's obviously a connection. And yeah,
Mm.
then they make the connection. Like, oh yeah, Ichigo is part Quincy. Like they reveal that. I'm like, okay, that makes sense and the thing. But it was like this mind blowing thing. I know it was
No,
coming.
no, no. Yeah.
However,
Yeah. So I would say like if you're a real diehard fan, the reveals will be like, well, may not be so surprising for you, right? But for
right,
me, just going back into the world is like, oh, okay, I like that. That actually makes sense, right? Um, it was just cool just seeing some of my favorite characters again. Kenpachi boy get like a couple episodes. He was a badass there. Um, again, I mentioned Yamamoto boy. Just seeing some of my favorite characters, right? I was a little disappointed that Rukia didn't really do much.
well,
But her
she
brother
gets
do something.
no,
That's all I'll say.
she gets her moment to shine a little later. You'll see.
Yeah, I know, but I expected to see more of her, especially
Nah,
when
yeah. In the manga, same thing.
because
She really
she
nothing.
more or less started off Ichigo's journey, right? You know what I mean?
Right,
So although it was cool seeing Urahara, right? It was cool
right,
seeing him again. Like, all right, cool, cool. I like that he was in the moments involving his mom as well too, right? That was
right.
cool, right? But yeah, I was a little worried about the whole pacing issue, especially those last four episodes. But I just more or less saw it as okay. This is just a little cool down period. This is just a little break, and then when part two come, we're gonna come back again, boy. And I would
Yeah.
say though, the threat is real. These are some serious motherfuckers here. And what I would just say though is that don't get attached to anybody in this.
For real.
Anybody could
Well,
anybody could die in this
yeah,
trip.
that's what this
That's
arc.
how real this shit
Yeah,
was.
that's
I
what
was like,
this arc
wow,
did. Eh?
yeah,
Yeah, that's what this arc did. Because one of the bigger complaints of Bleach up until this point is that yeah, no good guys died. Like Aizen kind of didn't kill nobody. Like sorry to see it. None of the Espada kill anybody in any major. I don't think anybody big died as far as I know. But this one, they say now nah, they're killing some people. But and this arc kills a handful of people. So like
yeah, boy, yeah.
not too
But
much, but
not too much, not too
but
much.
yeah,
But the
two big
ones who
people dead
go,
already.
boy, they go and they go out in glorious fashion, though I must
Right.
say, right? Lastly, speaking of Aizen, I was surprised to see my boy Aizen in this. 'Cause, yeah,
Right.
he is still one of my favorite villains in Bleach, right?
Right.
Now, I haven't read the manga, but I have a feeling that he is going to play a bigger role
Yes, he
in
does.
part two. I have a feeling that he is going to
Yep.
be
Yep.
free. That's all I'll say. And I can't wait
Kinda.
to see
Yeah.
what he's gonna do here. You know what I mean?
Right.
But yeah, I am excited as hell to see part two, man. This is a strong way to start off the series. It really, for me, just inclusive. What I love as a whole, boy, it just took me back, boy, to the days of watching, like just waiting weekly for the not the dubbed versions, but the subbed versions of these episodes to drop. Every what it was Thursday or Friday. I can't remember what day it was. It just took me back to that day, boy. You know what I mean? just can't wait to see what happens next. Just seeing your characters just reveal these powers and just be badasses and whatnot. It is still absurd AF though. Like there's a few moments, like especially the final episode, that had me cracking up. Like I had my boy Komamaru Dread. When you see, when you see that man, like his elder, the one he look up to, it was funnier. When you see it, that was like in the world of Bleach, is like, yeah, this is the kind of weird shit that we love, Dread. This is it. Yeah, this makes sense to me, even though if I just had a nitpick it, just be a little nitpicky, right? You know, I understand it's fancy and all that, but geez, boy, you just there in a cave, just there doing what exactly? I don't know. Right. I don't really care. It's Bleach, right? Whatever. Right. At the end of the day, it's just one of those shows you just have to lock in and roll with it, right? If you find it's too absurd or too over the top, then yeah, this is not for you. But my God, it's anime, Dread. Like just deal with it, Dread. You know what I mean? It's it is what it is, right? As far as part 1 goes, I'm gonna give this a light 4.5 out of 5, man. Bleach is back, boy. Bleach is back. I can't wait for the second part. So Ricardo, take it away. Go.
Yeah, no, yeah. I thought they did a great job. Well, one of the big things they did with this arc is in the manga we never see what they look like, but the flashback of the original Go-Title team, they finally show those guys like who they are. We get a list of names and the squad that they were captain, or well, presumably either captain or started, because there's a whole weird relationship they have with another big plot reveal is the Zero Squad.
Right. Well, just remind me with that original squad, right? Because they keep talking about prisoners. So they were prisoners turned. Well,
they keep calling them
Shinigami, right?
They're not prisoners. They call them thugs and criminals.
Thugs and criminals. That's it, right?
Not necessarily prisoners, because you learn that Soul Society didn't really have that nice about like what we watch in Soul Society is now is a very sanitized kind of narrative, and they have a whole thing with Yamamoto and statecraft. But what they were back in the past was just utterly brutal in terms of dealing with the Quincy threat now. And it's a whole story. Like they don't, again, this is one thing I felt they could have done more, but I hope the anime does a good job of addressing it. The actual like real like problems that they had with the Quincy. Like we know the story as it is, but we didn't see a full narrative. So hopefully they'll fill it up. But yeah, for the most part, they do a good job with this. Again, just the sheer production values of it is excellent. That is the main thing. That last piece is excellent when Ichigo finally gets his quote-unquote true Shikai.
Yes.
The guy who's the Oetsu, who's basically he's the creator of all Zanpakuto.
Right.
What they do with that moment in the manga, it felt kind of flat. In the anime, they did a great job with that sequence.
And speaking of that, I love how they call back to one of the most memorable moments of Bleach, when Ichigo, finally understands his Bankai, right? That moment, and they have like a similar visual, background to it too. So I was like, okay, I like that. I like that show. All right, I like that. Keep doing that. Yeah.
Yeah. They do a good job with it. And again, I have problems with this arc, right? I have some problems with the arc narrative, right? But yeah, I kind of have to like care a little too much to like get into it. And I get back then when the manga came out, I was still underwhelmed with it, and I was kind of complaining online and bitching online about it. But no, I kind of like over time it, you explain it and the way how the story should play. It's like, all right, accept it for what it is. It's not my story, blah blah blah. But yeah, this is a real kick-ass arc overall. Again, adaptation, they do a good job of filling stuff up. That is the main thing. The connective tissue is one of the weak links of this arc. They're doing connective tissue and explaining stuff, showing stuff that we didn't see. And I can't be mad at it. Yeah, rating, I give it a very high score, like 9 out of 10 as a season. It's excellent for me. They do more or less exactly what I wanted in terms of all the filling up and explaining stuff and showing stuff that we didn't see. Yeah, they give us everything, more or less everything that I think was reasonable to want for anime adaptation. And just, again, production value and all these new extra additions like the new music and everything like that. I can't be mad. As a Bleach fan, very satisfied.
Yeah, man. Exactly.